Alrighty, guys, finally coming to the end of this alien-filled weekend. I honestly did not intend for the majority of this weekend's content to be focused around this film franchise, but I can't help it. I love the Alien series, and finally got to the theaters to see Alien Romulus today. My dad is a huge fan of these movies, so I held off on going to see the movie until he was available to do it. So me and him went to see it today, and I'm ready to get my thoughts on it for you guys. Now, in regards to the series as a whole, the first couple of Alien movies are some of my favorite films in general. Alien has always been one of my go-to examples of a horror film that, can be classy. The production value, the atmosphere, the tension, just the disturbing nature of the monster. It's absolutely fantastic. The sequel, Aliens, is equally awesome. Definitely amping up the action and being a bit more of a crowd pleaser, but also still doing really well in that regard too, with some of the absolute best action scenes ever depicted in film and some absolutely mind-blowing special effects for the time. Like, this is just one of those movies that has just not aged a single day in its life, and that really is a testament to how timeless it in the original are. However, outside of those first two movies, I can't really say there are any other films in the Alien series that I necessarily love. Alien 3, in my opinion, is the absolute worst film in the series. It's very dull, very depressing, and honestly, at times I feel a little pretentious as well. I have definitely seen worse movies, but this is the one I always point to as the absolute worst. Alien Resurrection is the one that people would probably argue is worse. But the thing about this movie is it's the good kind of bad. It's, the type of movie that's fun to watch because of how bad it is. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for saying this. My favorite films in the series, outside of the original two movies, are the Alien vs. Predator movies. It's just a match made in heaven. And I honestly like the xenomorph and the predators crossing paths. It just, creates this much bigger world for these two characters. And that was something that I was hoping would be explored further with Prometheus, which was, the first in the sort of modern entries in this franchise. The whole idea with Prometheus was that it was just another science fiction movie that just happened to take place in the same world as Alien, but would have nothing to do with the xenomorph and would instead be more about the space jockey where the alien eggs were found in the first movie. Unfortunately, a lot of people were left confused by Prometheus. And as a result, when the follow-up came out, Alien Covenant, whatever Ridley Scott had planned for it, seemed to have gotten flushed down the toilet in favor of a more basic Alien movie. Now, I will admit I did enjoy Alien Covenant for what it was, but it was, at the end of the day, just your stock standard Alien movie. So, going into Alien Romulus, I was a little disappointed that they were completely discarding whatever Ridley Scott had planned with the Prometheus trilogy. But at the same time, I was on board with what this film was aiming to be, which was basically a back-to-basics Alien movie. And if you look at it from that perspective, this is going to be a very enjoyable movie for a lot of people, and it certainly has been. The film has done really well at the box office. People who have seen it have already sung the film's praise. And yeah, I had a lot of enjoyment with it too, but at the same time, I can't help but shake the feeling that this is ultimately going to be remembered as just another basic Alien movie. Now, in regards to what I like about the movie, I did like the plot. What this film is about is a group of young space colonists who head up to raid a Weyland-Yutani research vessel in order to find cryostasis pods needed to make the necessary space travel to, a better life in the galaxy. And What's really clever about that is two things. For starters, the cast in this movie is a lot younger than what we have seen in the Alien franchise up to this point. Up until now, just about all the characters in the series have been adults, save for Newt, who was a child. So it was kind of interesting to see, teenagers or younger adults taking center stage here. And I also feel like there's a bit of social commentary here in regards to how they portray their lives under Weyland-Yutani, just how suffocating and depressing that life can be, and how cold and uncaring the Weyland-Yutani Corporation seems to be. Like, you just kind of get this never-ending sense that the company just does not care about these characters. And you know what? They head up to the research vessel, and of course, it's crawling with xenomorphs. And now it's basically a fight for survival as these kids just try to get through just this incredibly nightmarish scenario. So yeah, this is a very basic and fundamental Alien plot. It actually is very reminiscent of the original Alien, and even Aliens to some degree, but at the same time, you kind of get the sense that the film doesn't really have anything all that original to offer. Like, I was saying when I went to see this with my dad, as we were walking out of the theaters, I asked him what he thought of it, and his response was, I honestly thought it was kind of lame, and I definitely understood that because, I was definitely getting a kick out of the movie. My dad is the kind of person who does not like repetition, and I just kind of got the sense this was just something he felt he had seen before. And it is something he has seen before, and as we were driving home, I was telling him about the member berries from South Park, and the film is definitely guilty of that. There are definitely a lot of callbacks to older movies in this here. Like, it's just a little too obvious. Now, it's not to say that the film doesn't do anything original. The facehuggers actually get a lot of screen time in this film. Usually, they're just used as a vessel to spawn the aliens, but here they're actually presented as a bona fide threat, and it actually is pretty tense, the situations they create where they have to deal with the facehuggers. The xenomorph, as always, is just freaky as all hell. There is some absolutely sickening body horror in here that even got under my skin as someone who has seen all of these movies and, far more graphic stuff in his day. And even I was a little unnerved by it at points. And, that is one of the better aspects of the film, and that is the overall direction. That is what I really appreciate about this most. Just, the filmmaking techniques on display. The person who directed this also did the Evil Dead remake, which was heavily underrated in its time because, it's Evil Dead. You kind of want Ash Williams in it. But that film was just really well shot, very disturbing, and you can definitely see a lot of that DNA here. And the action scenes are good. There were some really good effects in there, too. A lot of the time I couldn't decide if I was looking at practical effects or CGI. They were that good. And yeah, you could tell there's a lot of talent working on this film. And I really hope that they continue to do good work in the industry. And, maybe even get another shot at the Alien series. Try to do something a bit more original. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. This film doesn't really leave itself open to a sequel in any way. But there are talks now of the director of this movie and the director of the recent Predator movie, Prey, collaborating on another Alien vs. Predator movie. And I would be all for that if they are willing to break the mold in some way. Something that I've always wanted to see with the Alien series is just, the xenomorphs encountering more than just humans. Because you gotta understand, when the facehugger impregnates a living being, there's a DNA transfer. So the combination you get from the facehuggers and humans, you're going to get a completely different outcome if it affects a dog, maybe a sea creature or something. I feel like there's a lot of creative potential there for, different forms a xenomorph can take. Maybe even different alien life forms. There is such thing as a predalien after all. But, after Ridley Scott's Prometheus just crashed and burned so hard, primarily due to the audience reaction to it, I just have a feeling that, whoever is going to be funding these films aren't going to be willing to let the filmmakers do that. So, yeah, Alien Romulus. If you're a fan of the series, this is definitely worth checking out. Like I said, it is a very well-made movie. It is very entertaining to watch, and very disturbing. Some really good tension in there, but at the same time, if you're hoping for a film that is going to top Alien or Aliens, this is not going to do it for you. This is probably the best film in the Alien series since Aliens, but it still misses the quality of Aliens by a pretty substantial degree. But if that's still a ringing endorsement for you guys, by all means go see it, because at the end of the day, this is far from a terrible movie. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Alien Romulus, guys, and I'll see you guys next weekend.